Hi everyone, thank you for joining us to do a bit of a question and answer session with Grant Dinwoodie on his Garden Gigs project. It's great to have you all here and just have a bit of a chat about the project and see where his inspiration came from and learn a bit more about the project. My name's Emma Porteous. I'm the Project and Communications Manager for the Dumfries and Galloway Arts Festival, and it's been great working on all of the commissions and getting them out to all over the world. We've managed to reach over 22,000 people through the commissions project for our Arts Live Autumn Winter session, and we hope to carry that on this year, giving our artists a platform. So I'll just go around, and if you can introduce yourself. So Liam, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Liam Russell. I'm the Youth Development Officer at the Arts Festival and also a musician. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation today. And yeah, we'll see what we can get out of Mr. Dinwoodie and see if he can offer us any tips and tricks for the young people of Dumfries and Galloway.
Fantastic. Katrina?
Hi there, I'm Katrina. I'm a creative producer based here in Stranraer. I'm also on the board for Dumfries and Galloway Arts Festival and chair of the Young Promoters Group.
And lastly but not least, Grant?
It's me. I'm Grant Dinwoodie, and I'm a singer-songwriter and guitarist and singer, musician. Here we are.
Fantastic.
That's all I am.
One of the projects we did this year was your garden gigs and doorstep songs. So back in July last year, we put out a call out for commissions to support our artists during the fantastic year that was 2020, and we were inundated with proposals. And I think one of the proposals that stood out the most was yours, Grant, because it spoke to the times and really spoke to what we were trying to achieve, and you really showed that you wanted to give people that performance experience, even though it was really missing last year. So I think we felt that it really spoke to the times. I think our region definitely felt that as well. We were inundated with applications for garden gigs, and we received over 160. And we know that you've been very, very busy since October doing all the garden gigs and doorstep songs. Can you just tell us a bit about the project and how you came up with it and what your inspiration was?
Yeah, I think back in when you proposed it, there was an interview. Remember, you had those coffee meetings. There was a coffee meeting, and I remember thinking, and I think you do something as maybe as an artist or a musician or creative. You think, well, there must be something we can do. There must be something that you can do for live performance. And the one thing that sort of was allowed was to have sort of people in your garden about the time. I think you could have about a max 10 people from 3 different households at the time, or 4. I can't remember the specifics. It's changed so much, do you know what I mean, over the past year. So I can't remember. I thought, well, that's fine. 10, that's all right. It doesn't have to be a big rave. It doesn't have to be at nighttime. It could be, because we didn't want that either. And I think what was happening was people were taking advantage of that situation, and it became this all night manic craziness, drinking and going a bit nuts. And I just thought it just needs to be acoustic guitar, a barbecue, a bit of a chat, and a sort of bit of hope that the gigging scene, will return, and sort of and put a kind of a spotlight on it that's where it's got to, the gigging. It was literally the only way you could do a live gig, and I looked at every single option. I mean, I suppose you could do busking perhaps, or you could do it on top of a building, but no one would really see you, or there wasn't a sort of focus. So as far as just a focus gig was concerned, that was the only way to have an audience and play music live. And that was inspiration. I just thought at the time that, people are always looking for you to do your best in things, or to go that far. And there's been a lot of digital performances, and that's fine. But then everybody always says nothing compares to a live gig. So, and everybody agrees with it. I think everybody's doing a fantastic job with these digital ideas, but nothing compares to the live gig. And that was my inspiration. I kind of wanted to just go as far as I could go, because again, you remember we talked about this thing, it had to be under restrictions, and at that time you could travel between your own border, so within Dumfries and Galloway, so you're sticking within guidelines. And that was my inspiration for it. I just wanted to get out to folk around Dumfries and Galloway and to do a few gigs that, to put smiles on people's faces.
Yeah, and I think you certainly did. I think one of the biggest things for us, and I think it was the best thing for us, was the messages that we got after from the people that you did the gigs for. I think it was how emotional people were to just have that performance and to have just that experience that they were missing last year. And can you tell us a bit about the, you know, where you went to within the region? What was the best part for you with all the gigs and the Doorstep songs?
Yeah, I think the first one was a Doorstep song. It came, was it? Yeah, it was. I think it was a Doorstep song because the next one was the Hagavar. I wasn't prepared for the reaction. The reaction to my first Doorstep was someone crying. But so I didn't expect that, because of course you do gigs and people go to gigs to enjoy themselves or forget about stuff. But then you kind of realize when maybe someone's booked you to surprise someone, it becomes very emotional for them because maybe they've lost someone or they've lost something or something's went wrong, and this is the motive why people want to book you. And it never stopped. Tears just never stopped. It was just people haven't heard liveness or something in front of you that's live and playing this music. They're not listening to Spotify. I think I realized from that point of view that live music still very important. It's extremely important, you know, having someone there singing to you or being part of it. Certainly the Hagavar gig was a great. They were all different. They were all different. The one in Dumfries the one in Hagavar was great because it was scenic and I couldn't find it. You know, so that's the other thing. Logistically, it was a nightmare because what I realized is that when you gig, you go to a venue or you go somewhere. But when you go to people's houses, it's different. Like, where is this house? You know, like, where am I going? And then they're expecting you to be at the door, so you're kind of sneaking, you know, like to come up and whatnot else. There was highlights. I suppose being in Dumfries, that was a good one. They had flags. It was around about the time of Halloween. I'll have to show you these flags. They made flags with my face in it. Halloween party or whatever it was, and they done it beautifully. A woman called, she won't mind me name, Linda Wheatley, and she got a gazebo out for me. I'll send you this video because I know Liam's trying to get these videos off me. It's blowing a gale, and I had my new guitar. I was, oh my god, I just got this guitar, and it was pouring, and the gazebo was shaking, and they were socially distant over there. But then their next door neighbour, the 3 next door neighbours, and they were all over their fence like this. And there was a guy in a sort of Velux window in the attic, and there was another guy here. It was just, it was fun, actually. I thought that was quite good fun because you try to engage audiences. But there's always that underlying thing as you're doing it, like, this isn't quite the same. It wasn't the same, but you done it because it felt the right thing to do, but it wasn't the same as setting a gig. But everybody was so warm, you know, like in what they were doing, and they took everybody took the social distancing thing really seriously. You know, no one tried to a certain extent, everybody kept separate. I mean, no matter where we were, you know. So that was always a nice thing to have. I forgot what the question was, but I blah.
Yeah, no, you answered it, Fab. No, I think that's the one of the exciting things about it is, you know, for you as a musician, it's, for once, you're not just looking into a crowd of people, you actually get that personal connection one-on-one, which you probably don't really get the chance to as a musician very often. Yeah, that's it. And of course, when there's a few people there, you can kind of look, you can pass your focus to different people in the room, or generally, if a proscenium or whatever, or in the round, you can pass your energy through an entire room, or you can look into a particular point in the room, and that's generally quite fine. When there's just 2 people, there's only 2 people to look at, you know. So, and you're like, oh, you're here and I'm here, and we're sort of just doing this thing, and actually, more about the music was the conversation in between songs, just having a little bit of banter with people and asking people what they've been up to and how they've been coping. So that was really nice. It was more about having a song was fine, but the conversation was quite
quite good, I would say.
Yeah, no, fantastic. So Liam, I'll just pass it. I know that you've got some questions for Grant. I'll pass over to you.
Cool. Yeah, so I was just gonna ask, like, to what extent, I suppose, was the project like, did you need that as a source of motivation, like to keep you creative through like the pandemic and stuff? So was that like, did you need that focal point to kind of focus your creativity?
It was nice to, the gigging was a bit of a relief for it, really. But the creating during the lockdown and writing was actually the most successful I've ever been, as far as writing is concerned. I think my daughter was born, she's a lockdown baby, and it was lovely because that first month I was self-employed. You don't get the privilege of always saying I'm going to take 6 weeks off here. You know, you're working all the time, work, or doing projects. And of course, my projects has been in the arts and being creative or producing or putting on shows or doing cover gigs, whatever it may be, to keep that lifestyle going. So when lockdown hit, I couldn't do anything else but write. It was a really nice time for me, in a sense. Not so much as it went on, but you know, there was that first couple of months I was like, this is great, I'm just going to write music, you know, like, and not have to concentrate on another creative motive, you know, because every time, if you survive as a performer, you've got that project, and you're always trying to concentrate on the project rather than just nurturing yourself or writing or something. So to find inspiration through it, I looked at on past recordings that I'd done as well previously and tried to draw inspiration of past material, and then also try hone my style, which is, and then those 3 songs that we done for as part of the Arts Live, you know, those 3 songs that I brought out live, because I thought that's what's happening now in the garden gigs, and it all sort of worked together, and they were all songs, and they were recorded as soon as we were allowed to go back into the studio. So they were part of that whole inspirational drive, and they were all live. There was only 4 takes in each song, and that's where the Lucky Doves come from. You know, this thing that came out of that with the boys. So for me, it was quite a nice time to hone a craft and to figure out how I wanted to go forward when things do get better. And I got a chance to play some of those songs in the garden gigs, and I thought, this feels good. So I now know what I want, actually, fun enough, and it took a very long time. I've it took years to find it. You know, it's took me a long time, even though I've been performing a long time, to find the thing that I think makes me tick and performing, playing with my audience and serving them in a way. It's been a chance to discover that. But now I'm fed up.
The rest of us.
Yeah.
The next thing I was going to ask was, so like just kind of following up from what you were talking about there, like mental health's been a massive conversation like throughout the whole lockdowns and everything, and I was just wondering, like specifically, I read a thing a while ago, and it's like it's particularly prevalent, like within young creatives. They really have been struggling over the pandemic with mental health and everything affiliated to it. And I was just going to ask, like, to what extent does your creativity kind of help with that side of things within yourself?
It's a hard one to answer, because I think mental health is an individual case to the person as well. It's not a general idea. You can't just say this is affecting me. I have been down by these things in the past. Years ago now, I changed my rhetoric completely. I went from being very confident, just having a little lull, and then why am I in a lull, and then try to get myself out of it. I've never had a lull during this whole period. And I guarantee if it was stuck maybe not so long ago, I would have been in a lull, and I know why. Because we're just constantly surrounded around paradox. You know, there's a constant pull, even to rhetoric that we use in life. I believe, you know, there's a constant idea that I always say it like a saying. You know, like people always say the grass isn't always greener on the other side, and then someone else says, well, you don't know if unless you try. We're constantly pulled.
Mhm.
And this whole COVID thing's been the biggest pull ever, because it pulls you away from what you love doing. So if your biggest love is to create music and your biggest fear is not to do it, then you're stuck, really.
Mhm.
So for me, it's not a fear. It's just a thing that I do. It's a thing that I always have done. We spoke before about, not in this, but in general, like I being a creative, and I've made my money that way, and I've looked after my family. I've got 2 kids to look after as well, and that becomes a motive for me
Mhm.
more than anything. That the family's the first thing in my life, making sure they're safe. So the creative stuff doesn't matter when it's about your family. So that's why I'm labouring. You know, I've been labouring the past 3 months with Cammy Black, who's also a musician, who was trained as a brickie to be a musician, and now he was a musician doing well and had to go back to being a brickie. And in some respects, for me, it's a personal thing where I try to change some of the words that I use. You know, I don't call it hard. I just call it a challenge. And every day you wake up and go, what kind of challenges am I going to face today, and how am I going to get over that? Do I need to? And it works for me. This is why it's so important. I wouldn't like to say to anybody, just go out there and graft and work. You know, it's not always the case, but certainly for me, I've put more work in by labouring and my creative stuff, because I have to. So I have to wake up like really early in the morning to write a song or something. Then I go off to work and come back and look after the kids, and it's this juggle of life. So I'm constantly buzzing all the time, and tired. But so I can see how it's affecting people, but I can't generally see how. Also, it must be hard if you create something and then can't record it. That's another pool. You create something, you can't perform it. It's another pool. So you perform it online, but it's not the same thing. This is what we talked about before. It's actually not the same thing. You don't get the same connection. And I suppose no matter what kind of artist you are, eventually it's about connection to something, you know, or someone or something or an idea. It's a connection. So it's very hard to find that connection online, I think. But I don't know. I wouldn't like to hesitate on the answer, but I do know. I do know your head and the way you speak can certainly dig holes for yourself. If you start telling yourself every day certain things, then you'll start to believe it. And it is just a pause. This, you know, we will gig again. This is just a pause. This isn't a thing. This is the and there is loads of things to do. I've been getting a headache over. I'm rubbish at social media, as most people know, and I try update it, and oh God, it's a headache for me. I'm like, God, I tried to do another thing this morning. I couldn't do it. Oh God, set up websites for this Lucky Doves thing, and it's doing my nutting. But it's the one thing to keep me occupied and try to get better at something. We've always got to improve on certain things per day, and so that's what I'd say about that. It's very hard. I don't know. It's different for different people.
Yeah,
so.
definitely. I think well, there is no right and wrong way of putting it. I think like with myself as well, like a lot of young creative people are like, they find themselves in this weird time where there's, if you're a songwriter, like I'm a songwriter as well, obviously, and you find yourself in this weird kind of space where you've got a lot to say because there's a lot happening, like politically and just with the world and everything. But finding, because you're not actually physically doing a lot from day to day, sometimes your motivation drops, and it's that kind of like the balance, finding the balance there of being able to write and like just being able to say what you've got to say, I guess. So it's just try to find the way to get around that, I suppose. Right.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer to that I tell myself is if you stop moving, you stop moving in everything.
Totally, yeah.
It's that old, live immediately, because
Yeah, for sure.
you really have to force. And perhaps creating a creative habit. It can't always be about writing. It just can't always be about that. Because you'll draw for me, that's just for me, but it can't always be about that. You have to draw inspiration from different areas and different other people's experiences and relationships and even the buildings giving me ideas. I'm out there every day. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm a musician, or whatever else. I don't know, but there's something fun about it. I don't know. There must be something written in the stars with that because I'm doing it, and then finding that thing. So if you're kind of by yourself, and that's the other thing. I have a family to look after. It's a different motive. If you're by yourself and a young creative, I don't know, but I do know you've got to move. You have to do something like that. You have to get up in the morning and move, whether it's a walk or a run or a bit of yoga. You've got to do something outside being creative. I think is my belief, but
Yeah,
I could be
definitely.
talking
I don't
rubbish.
think you can just sit and wait for something to happen, can you?
No, because it's not just in there. It's not in there. It's a flicker. It's a moment. Do you know what I mean? It's not that way. It annoys Cammy consistently when I'm building. He says, "You dilly dally." I dilly, and I get something in my head like a riff or something while I'm mixing cement or whatever it is. And this thing will come in and I was like, God, I need to remember that riff. I need to remember. And can't wait till I get to my lunch and I'll record it on my phone. I'm like, I'm going to do something with that later. There's something in my head. It's like, you dilly dally all the time. You put that shovel, you get massive. So we have a right barge about it. And then, and I do know because my body's moving at such a rate at the moment that those little moments of inspiration and creativity, I really look after them. I really put them down and kind of concentrate. And it might be just 15 minutes, but no one said you need to be creative 8 hours or 16 hours a day. That's nuts.
Yeah, for sure.
Or force it, why force it?
Yeah, definitely.
I think just sit down. If nothing comes, go for a walk. Something might happen. Have a banter with someone on Zoom or whatever.
Yeah.
Or do something out your comfort zone just for experience, maybe. I don't know. There's all these different kinds of challenges, though, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard when you say, I'm going to do this in life, and then something happens to restrict you. So I'm just talking about what works for me.
I think that's a great thing as well, because I think as a young person as well, it can sometimes feel like, oh, I can't call myself a musician, I can't call myself a writer unless I do it as a job for 8 hours a day, and that must be all I do for me to be able to call myself that. And I think it's great. It'll be great for young people to hear that, you don't have to do that all day, every day, to be able to call yourself a musician or to call yourself a songwriter or to call yourself creative.
Yeah, you've totally nailed it there, Emma. Absolutely. Don't ever think that it's a higher state. I wouldn't say it's a higher status than any other ever thing. And none of us are a higher status or a lower status than anything else in this world. I don't believe anything's higher or lower than anything else. It just is. And it's not what you are, it's what you maybe do. And part of that thing is that maybe you are working, maybe you're waitering or coffee or maybe you're laboring what I'm doing. But, I've been gigging since I was 12-year-old. It's like 23 years. And I've never not had to do something else. There's always been something. Whether that is that I've been a musician or writing and then I've been dressed up as a panto dame, or whether that's just because I've been labouring for trades or picking up a bit of work here and there, I've always had to put my hand into something else. But I think it develops character that way. You know what I mean? You spend so long honing your craft and doing your guitar, doing your singing, but there's so many great stories, and if you forgive that part of life, also there's nothing wrong with getting a bit of work and getting a bit of brass behind you in your pocket. That can go towards your career. You can say, I'm going to focus on that, and I'm going to pay for that. That's £1,000 studio time. You know what I mean? I'm going to get in there. I'm going to make that happen, and you've got to graft it all the way. It'll make you feel good, you know, and it might seem like you get into this thing, God, I'm a musician, but as I say, I've been doing it a long time and I haven't had to not do something else at any one time. I've always had to graft in something else, or to adapt, you know. So as long as you've got it as your focus. Billy Connolly said, if you write it in your wallet, you should write it. I've wrote mine in my wallet, and you should look at it every day or your purse about what you want to do. And it might be that your work, or you know, your serving or whatever else meanwhile, but you've always got that little bit of focus, and that gives you a bit of drive as well, because before your work you get up, you get a bit of exercise or whatever else, or you play a bit of your instrument, you go to work, you think about what you want to write about, and then you get back and you write about it. That's the kind of things I should have done when I was younger. I wasted a lot of time thinking about that exact thing that you talked about there, Emma, was if I'm a creative, I've got to do it all the time. And actually, that's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I think that's something I'm guilty of, you know, because like, I mean, I went to uni and studied music, but I'd never call myself a musician, you know, because I don't feel I do it enough to be classed as a musician. Like, it's only in the last few months that I've accepted that I'm a creative producer and have creative within that title, rather than being an event manager or, you know, that sort of thing. And to go, actually, no, what I'm doing is still creative, it's just a different level. And it's just getting into that headspace and going, I am still creative. Just because I'm not picking up my instrument every day and I'm not playing doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not still that person, you know?
Yeah, 100%. You are who you kind of say you are and what you want to be. I don't think anything detracts from that. I don't really. I think you know, if you ask me who I am today, then I'm a musician. You know what I mean? And I have a theatre club as well. I teach kids, you know, in drama. I started that so I could get time to do the music as well, and to teach, and kind of like teaching drama, and it's great fun. And that's been shut down as well. That's 4 years and that's been running, and it's shut down. So yeah, if you think it's it might seem tough. Things might seem tough, but there is a route out, and especially if you're young, because you've got drive, and if you get a little drive behind you and that youth behind you, it's a fantastic thing to have. But yeah, I think you're right, Katrina, when you say that, you know, like when you might not feel like a musician or producer, and it's just not true. I think you are who you say you are. It's very hard for creatives.
Yeah, definitely.
To get in that headspace.
I was also going to ask about when you were doing the garden gigs and the doorstep songs. Did you notice like any change in the way the audiences kind of were relating to you as you were performing? And do you think that there is a place for smaller gig setups like that moving forward, even when we get back to normal? Do you think things like that will still be around?
Yeah, I do. I think like maybe not for two people. Maybe it needs a bit more people. But if you were going for it and saying, oh, you know what, I'm going to charge X amount to play. Let's call it a money thing, a monetary value. You put a value on it for an hour set. And you could go into someone's garden and play in front of 10 people, and they could all pitch in for a ticket and watch you for an hour play while they have a barbecue or a few drinks. I would do it, because there is something kind of natural about it. There is something quite fun about it. Just could do it a few more people, because you kind of want to have a little bit of a connection. You know, I was talking about before, you do kind of want to speak to people and have a bit of banter, and as you're singing your songs, people to kind of sing with you in chorus and these sort of things. So that does help. I think when you're just playing in front of two people, you're kind of conscious of it. But I think with a private gig and everybody that's hired you knows what you do, and it's 10 people, I think it's a very cool thing to do. We still need the big gigs, you know, we still need big gigs, but you know, it's another It's another idea, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like one of the positive things that's come out of all the restrictions and stuff is like because we've had to get a bit think outside the box a bit more. Like these things are now able to develop, and I'm hoping that like online gigs and things like that. I'm kind of hoping that they still go ahead because I mean you've given access to so many other people that like people that can't get out to big gigs and stuff. So in the same vein as what you're doing, maybe there are people you've performed to that wouldn't go and normally attend like a gig in the venue. Like, so it's kind of cool that we're able to do that.
Yeah, diversify. I mean, that is the one good thing. Look at how many people have really got good on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like from a phone camera to getting things set up with logos in the corner, and you know, people have been really thinking about it. You know, and that's been great to watch. You know, it's because that can still happen while you got your live gig going. You know, you can really serve your audience well. You're not getting the live gigs going, but you've maybe got a mailing list going out to all your mailing list people, and you've got a private gig for them. You know, not always just giving it out to everybody, just doing something for the audience that really supports you in your circle or your hardcore fans, if you like. And then taking that one step further with your hardcore fans and doing a personal gig in one of the gardens. You know, this is all these things that you're like, well, this is great. We don't always need to. We can really fill the diary this way, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
There's good things to come, man. Good things to come.
Yeah. The last thing I was going to ask you, just kind of I think you've covered a lot of it, but just if there was one piece of advice you could give to a young person that was looking to build a sustainable career in the arts, like particularly in a rural area as well, what would that piece of advice be from you to that young person?
Be a tree, not a star. Do I have to elaborate? I might have to elaborate on that actually, because otherwise that just sounds weird. I have this concept that we're constantly looking at the, you know, and I love stars, don't get me wrong, but they're very frivolous things. No one knows about them. I say plant your roots and enjoy just growing, you know, and then taking the avenues and then growing the branches. I'll go down that avenue. I'll go down that avenue. Access as much information. Be creative. Enjoy it as well. Enjoy relationships with people and move a little bit as well. You know what I mean? Out your comfort zone. This is good because it's good for anybody in creatives, I think. And you know, don't put the pressure on it. Like Katrina was saying before, and Em was saying before. You know, if that's who you believe you are, then that's it. You know, so don't. There's nothing wrong if you've got a little side job and you're maybe feeding your career. You know,
Yep.
I would say that, and just keep doing what you love and grow with it. Grow and go with it. Maybe could have used a better analogy than the tree and the star thing, but you know what? I'm keeping it.
I love that. It was great.
Yeah.
Katrina, do you want to pick Grant's brain?
The one question that I've been really wondering about is how did you select the songs for each gig? Was it a case of people told you who like they liked and in terms of covers and things, or was it or did you have an idea of what sort of theme you wanted to convey during the gig?
Yeah, not really. Yeah, I just had random songs. I mean, no, that's not true. I mean, I did say it out, but some people wanted Wild Mountain Time because they heard it on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, like they might hear a few of my own songs as well, and they wanted that as well. And actually, some people wanted my own. See, that was the thing I wasn't prepared for. I've been doing the cover game for so long that you think I'm going to put these songs in because they'll entertain people.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them are saying, "Oh, can you play some of your own? We want to hear all your own songs." And I'm like, "Oh, that was nice," you know, because I'm not, you know, because you think you're doing a gig, so you know, maybe they didn't want to trudge on, and if people don't know your songs, but played some of these songs and folk knew the lyrics. And I was like, wow, that happened quick. They've only been out a couple of months. So actually it was that's how I chose. I chose songs that I knew were easy, I think, in that scenario, especially for two people, that they could easily connect to and have fun with. Because, you know, we're in this scenario with lockdown where it needed to be quite fun, you know. So I chose stuff like Paolo Nutini, Pencil Full of Lead, that sort of thing, and just for a wee bit of fun, I put harmonica over the top of it or whatever, and then done a bit of Steelers Wheel for a bit of retro set, you know, these sort of things. And I mixed it up like that and kind of just kept to what was comfortable with my voice as well, and mixed it up with my own songs. So there was no massive sort of idea how I'd done it. I've been playing these kind of songs for years, so I kind of put together we didn't go any longer than 40 minutes. I think one gig might have lasted a bit longer, but you know, with a bit of chatting in between, it was quite easy to select tracks, you know.
Mm-hmm. I think the thing that, with like my musician hat on going, the thing that would put me off is, right, I'm here to do a garden gig. What if they ask for a song that's not in my repertoire? Because people have that, I think it's that thing of being in a pub, having a pub gig, and like people expect you to know every song under the sun. And it's just like, I think for me there'd be that kind of fear.
Yeah, definitely. I just point blank say I don't know it. You know, I mean you get used to that. If someone says to you, can I ask for a request? I always say only if I know it. And then, or you have a Dave Bass. If you have a Dave Bass, you're all right. You have David Bass on your side. That guy knows every song in the world. I don't know the lyrics, but he knows the song and they can sing. But generally, it's like, well, you've got your set and you've got your set. I mean, you know, people either dig it or they don't, you know, or they don't want to. And generally, if you've been hired for a garden gig, they probably want you doing what you do. Yeah. I don't think it's a personal gig like that's not like a wedding where you have to please an entire audience. We've done weddings where you do the Beatles and you do Elvis and you do the Proclaimers and then you do a bit of a Kaylee stuff and then you do a couple of rock songs just to keep your sanity. Not that that's true because I love weddings. I do love them. I shouldn't say that. I'll lose them all. But you know, there is a couple of things you put in for yourself that you know is going to go down well, you know. And there's a couple ones that you keep on doing, but you have to keep on doing them because they go down well. But yeah, it's don't even be worried about what people say because you knew you get anything done at all. So, yeah.
Yeah. The other question I had was in terms of your writing process. You mentioned earlier having a riff caught in your head. Is it a case of the melody always comes first, or do you get do lyrics come to you and then you work the melody around that?
Yeah, phonetics generally. So a riff will come for me, and it generally comes when I'm plotting about with the guitar and working different shapes on the chords or something, and a little melody will come in my line, and I always figure out a chorus first. I never figure out verses first. I find verses very hard, yeah, that's how it works for me. It's just a riff in my head, and then I work out the structure after that within the system of music, I suppose, and sometimes figure out how I can go into different angles on it as well. You know, if I can put in something a wee bit quirky, but I don't do anything different just for different sake. You know what I mean? If the song needs it, then it needs what it needs. And I keep it quite simple, really. And then I chuck it quite a lot as well. I just go, that's crap. Always retrospect stuff.
It's interesting. I was once told that to keep every little snippet of song that I attempted to write, because it all came from my head, so it would all be interlinked in some way at some point, even if it's seems really crap at the time. Like just to keep a hold of it.
Yeah, that's 100% true. I do the exact same thing. I think I've got I counted up the other day about 720 voice memos of just some are maybe 10 of the same song, but they're all there and they're all. I said that I would filter them one day and go through them all, but I never have. But I mean, you know, you do keep everything because there could be something that you're looking for, and it is in those little voice memos. So it's a great way to do it. I think different folk have different styles, but just get it out. Just write it and get it out. just do it. Just write it and get the chords out and have a bit of fun with it. You know what I mean? I try. I think I've had 3 words that I kind of want my music to represent, and it was honesty, integrity, and I want to have fun. And those are 3 words that I do. And if the song comes out and I don't think it resembles any of those, then I might not use it, or it feels not like me or a bit contrived or something. And contrived's only for yourself, isn't it? It's only how you feel about it, but you know what I mean. That's the kind of process that I do to get through my day. There we go. I'm just waiting to see. I'm just waiting for this screen, and there's been another like 8 people in here or something, and just have to go through all these questions. But
no. I think there's only one question we've got left for you, and that's what's next in the world of music for Grant Dinwoodie.
Big Burn Supper next week is the massive one. There's loads of people attending that, and that's with the Lucky Doves, and we're doing a song on that. Can't wait for that. It was filmed. How much do I give away about it? Well, it was filmed. I think you'll see where it's filmed at. And we're doing a man's a man. That's, I can give away that for sure. And you'll see the video. It was in the Cosmic Gardens. You know the Gardens of Speculation. You know that it was filmed over there. Fantastic day. We had to be really, really quick. We're doing that on Monday. That's coming out. I've got my haggis ready, and that's there. And then I've this another single that I've got coming out. It was supposed to be in February, but we can't get in the studio again. So I kind of need to do some post-production stuff with Dave Miller at Circus 16, and I'm looking to bring that out probably either end of February, March. So loads of little stuff happening.
No, fantastic. And we'll definitely look forward to all of that and seeing what comes next. And we hope that all of the questions that we have asked today will be helpful for the young people and the young musicians in our region. And yeah, it's been great working with you. It's been great doing the garden gigs, and we'll hopefully do more again later this year.
Can't wait, man. It's been fantastic. Thank you very much, eh?
Thank you, guys.
Nice one. See you later.
Thank you.
Cheers.